All right, in West Virginia, we had a disastrous leak, only 7,500 gallons of MCHM, a chemical that went into the Elk River and shut down the water supply for 300,000 people for 5 days. So this was apparently due to lack of regulation. Now, I say that, I don't know why I added apparently, because it's definitely due to lack of regulation. It turns out if you're in the chemical making business, they do regulate you. If you're in the chemical storing business, not so much, as in not at all. Now, John Boehner is the leader of the Republicans in the House, and they are the ones that push for deregulation at every turn. So someone naturally asked him about this. Let's listen to his response.
The plant hadn't been inspected since 1991. Is that just part of the trade-off for less regulation?
No, the issue is this. We have enough regulations on the books. And what the administration ought to be doing is actually doing their jobs. Why wasn't this plant inspected since 1991? I am entirely confident that there are ample regulations already on the books to protect the health and safety of the American people. Somebody ought to be held accountable here. What we try to do is look at those regulations that we think are cumbersome, are over the top, and that are costing our economy jobs. That's where our focus continues to be. Thanks.
That's amazing. He just argued for less regulations. After we had a situation where we had no regulations, and he said, yeah, lower. Now, if you're not sure, let me quote the Associated Press from yesterday. According to the Department of Environmental Protection officials, Freedom Industries, that's the incredibly goofy name of this company that did the leak, is exempt from DEP inspections and permitting since it stores chemicals and doesn't produce them. It is exempt from regulation. How much less regulation could they possibly have, John Boehner? He says someone should be held accountable. I know who that is. You should be held accountable. In fact, I'm going to explain exactly how the Republicans knock down regulations in these fields in a second. He also said, I'm sure there are ample regulations. Based on what? Based on what? As always with Republicans, no facts whatsoever to back that up. Now, I want to mention someone who wrote into our program yesterday. We do this thing, hashtag TYT Live, where if you're watching the show live, we take your comments, question. And a guy by the name of Dubmaster C, that's his handle on Twitter, made a great point. He said, if Al-Qaeda had poisoned the water of 300,000 people, we'd have already invaded the wrong country. Since it's a corporation, carry on. Now, that is exactly right. If it's a corporation doing it, shh, don't. Do you know that the local guys in West Virginia had no idea what chemicals were even being stored in that plant? Do you know that that plant is right next to the water supply? That's why it got into the water supply. Do you know that in 2001, when the company was sold, the previous owner had to come and clean up this, the site because it had leaked, the chemicals had leaked into the soil. Oh, no, you shouldn't inspect that. There shouldn't be any regulation of that. In fact, the local guys here, Laura Jordan, spokesperson for West Virginia American Water Company, says, quote, this was not a chemical we were familiar with. So when a dangerous chemical you are not familiar with leaks into your local water supply, you've got a bit of an issue. If Al-Qaeda did it, we'd right now be knee-deep in some Middle Eastern country. Could have been the one that attacked us. It could have been a random one. But we'd be there, right? If it's a corporation, oh, no. We need to regulate it less. Isn't that funny? How Republicans love big government if it's an issue that helps corporations. Oh, we got attacked? Well, let's use all of our defense contractors. Let's use all of our private contractors. Let's go to war with our big government, with our gigantic government. Oh, same exact thing, results? But it's from a corporation. No. Smaller government. Well, look at that. The common denominator is no matter what happens, the Republicans are in favor of helping corporations, whether it's big government or small government. Perhaps their governing philosophy is not actually small government, but giant big business. And however they can do and whatever they can do to help them. All right. Now, as John Boehner said in that little clip, he said, why wasn't this plant inspected since 1991? Well, it hasn't been inspected because you've been quietly killing off the regulators by defunding them. So now we go to the Huffington Post. Republicans, quote, even bragged about successfully cutting the EPA's funding by 20% since 2010 when summarizing the bill. That is the bill where they got the budget compromise. And they said, at least we got EPA cut by 20%. That's what we won from the Democrats. And then he has the nerve to come out here and say, oh, you got poison in West Virginia? Well, you know, somebody should be held accountable. If you're not clear enough that that's cutting the EPA least of those results, let me give you more. The EPA announced plans last month to significantly reduce inspections over the next 5 years. Now, you know why they did that? Because they don't have enough money. When you bleed them dry, and remember the Republican philosophy is shrink government down to the size of a bathtub so that you could drown it and kill it. That's what Grover Norquist said. He's the main funder. He represents the top corporations who funnel money into the Republican Party so they can lower taxes and kill off regulation. And as they're killing off regulation, every once in a while they might poison your water supply. Oops. So, how about the Occupational Safety and Health Administration? Now remember, those are the guys that are also involved in this, right? They would look at a workplace, inspect a workplace, right? Let me quote again from this article. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration has also suffered under recent budget cuts. Due to low pay, the agency has struggled to hire and retain inspectors, resulting in so few workplace inspections that the average site will only face an inspection every 99 years. Yes, somebody should be held accountable. Somebody should be held accountable. Gee, I wonder who that should be. And then they brag about how they cut EPA and OSHA. Oops, they didn't have money or inspectors to inspect the sites. Oh, did they leak into your water supply? But they saved a couple of nickels. They saved, enough money that they could take a portion of that money and pay off scumbag politicians like John Boehner. Your water supply is contaminated? That's your problem and your kid's problem. That's not John Boehner's problem. That's not the problem for Freedom Industries. God, they're spitting in your face, man. They're taking the word freedom and using it against you. They're using it as a bludgeon, right? And they're taking it like a stick and they hit you and they bludgeon you with it. And you sit there and you go, oh yeah, freedom, man, freedom. Yeah. Your kids are free to drink that poison water. Now, luckily, they found in time that only 32 people got checked into a hospital, and then they didn't have water for 5 straight days, those 300,000 people. Like I said yesterday, in West Virginia, a lot of those folks aren't exactly going to go to the Bahamas on vacation for those 5 days. That's a real problem over there, okay? But, hey, you know what? Corporations had to get just another tiny little advantage. Well, you might say, hey, listen, guys, come on now. I know this is in general. I know it looks like they can't inspect all the sites, but does this really relate to Freedom Industries and what happened in this case? So let me give you this last quote. OSHA officials had scheduled an inspection of the Freedom Industries facility in 2009, but canceled it because the facility didn't fall under the agency's special emphasis programs, the Associated Press reported on Tuesday. Now, the agency's special emphasis programs is the programs that are such a massive possible danger that they must inspect them. And if you're not in that category, that means you have less of a chance of getting inspected, even less than once every 99 years. In fact, they had an inspection ready for these guys, and they had to cancel it because they didn't have enough money. And lo and behold, several years later, turns out they should have inspected them.